I had the idea of making a video because I got asked by a kind user of Alpha Forever about the way I make kick drums. And it's most interesting for him because of he's coming from a sample-based workflow, and he has seen the making of video of my track Cube, and he also liked the track, but that's not the point here. The point is that he's got interested in this procedural sound design, and I tell people always that work with what you have and work with what's comfortable for you, and but I think it's also good to experiment sometimes, and it's good to look into new techniques, and it's always a good thing to... Oh, I just see that I don't look into the camera, I just look into the monitor which is above the camera, so I'm not used to this YouTube thing yet. Anyway, so now I tell it while I'm looking into the camera that it's always useful to try out new things, but don't get obsessed with them, just experiment and make it until it's fun, and if it keeps on being fun, then do it. So if you like to make procedural kick drums, then do it, and if you are happier with sample-based things, then use the samples. I only want to try to show some techniques now, so it's not going to be a proper sound design thing, because I don't have a track yet, and a proper kick drum would need a proper track, but we are going to make a kick drum, and yeah, this is Ableton Live. The first day I have this new live, and I don't know why these are so colorful, but I make them white because I hate it if they are so colorful, and I also delete the return tracks because I don't need them. So okay, this is a fresh start. I did not pay much attention to this thing, and oh, I miss my default Ableton, my defaults. Okay, cool. Here we have Alpha Forever. It's registered on my name and it works fine. So let's create a kick drum. The first thing is going to be based on a sine wave oscillator. So I create a a sine wave oscillator, a sine function. So this is a sine function, and I'm going to create a saw wave LFO, and that's going to drive the sine function. That looks weird, I know, but I can explain why I do it, because let's create a scope, and let's give this some frequency like 10 and an amplitude of 1, and let's drag this into the scope, create some output, so the plugin is processing stuff like this and like this. I just press O here and the output is created, and another O creates another output, and that's fine. And let me plug the frequency of the LFO into the frequency input of the scope and put this into input hertz mode, and right, it's static, and that's what we want. And as you can see, this goes from, if I can exactly come here, then it's on, it has, yeah, this is about 1 and this is 0 here. The lowest part is 0, the highest part is 1. And if we feed this into the sine wave, then 0 into the sine function, which is a proper sine function, which is like mathematically sine, then if the x is 0, then it's the 0 phase of the sine wave. If it's 1, then it's 2 times pi. So it's a whole revolution of the sine wave, and if we check the waveform, it's a proper sine wave. And this technique is essential if you want to do some sine wave based things, because we have sine oscillators, but we will do more than just what's possible with a single sine wave oscillator, because that's one of my techniques. So we have our sine wave. I can delete the scope. We don't need it. I don't delete it because we will need it. So let me create a MIDI note input. Here we check the MIDI note, and we have the pitch, the velocity, the gate, the trigger. The gate and the trigger are about the same thing, but the trigger is always 1 when you hit a key, and all the other time it's 0. The gate is always 1 when the key is held down. So the two are somewhat comparable, but the trigger is always for a moment 1, the gate is always 1 until you have a key pressed. So let's use the trigger, and even more, this is another technique, because normally I would use an envelope follower and create such a burst from the trigger that looks like that guy, like this, because the trigger itself looks like that, and this gives it the tail, and the release sets the tail length. But we won't do this. We want to do something different now, and I'm going to use an incrementer. And an incrementer does nothing else than adds to the value before it, so you can also think of it like a patch that looks like this, where you have something coming in on input A, and the output is going to be fed back into input B. And if on input B, the input is 0, then nothing happens, and it's just a memory. And there's a multiplication here. And if the value of the multiplication is going to be 1, then we want to use the invert of 1, because if we give 1 here, then the output of this 1 minus x function is 0, and then we multiply this the sum of this addition with 0, and on the input we have nothing. And if here comes nothing, then okay, we have restarted our incrementing. And let's see this in practice, like let's create a knob and make it a step and truncate it so it's only on 0 and 1, because this knob is interpolated, and give it a change like this. And let's put this into the B input and create another knob here and make it step. We don't need to do anything more. And if I move this knob up, then the value is 1. If I move it down, then it's 1, then it's 2, and up again. It's by 5 now. Okay, let me scale the A value so you can see that we can jump like that. But okay, I'm tired of jumping around. Let's make this 0 again, and now we can increment again. And this is what an incrementer does. So we are incrementing it, and we can reset the value. So if we increment by the reciprocal of the sample rate, that means that we are going to reach 1 in a second. So this is a good thing to count seconds. And the trigger is always going to reset the incrementer. And that's simple, I think. And we can use a custom function and use the X input for the incrementer. And this means that we are going to come from here to there in 1 second. And we can also check this. It goes there, and if I hit a key, it raises to 1 again. Whoopa. Then that's a very nice thing, because from here on we can we can control the frequency of this LFO with this guy here. So let me make this a quick thing like this. So we can control the speed of the frequency of the LFO, like from 200 Hz to 50 Hz, and let's go from the upper part to the lowest part and draw a curve. And if I hit a key, then it's okay. It starts to look like a bass drum. And we can just copy paste this custom function, plug in the incrementer into that, so it's the same driver, but here from 1 we go to 0. And for convenience sake, so we don't have so many math nodes and it's not scary, I use a gain lint, turn it down to 0 and pull up the modulation and plug it there. And voila, it's silent, but if we hit a key, and this looks like a kick. And let me create an envelope follower, modulate it and connect it to the gate, and let's make it the audio output. Let's make it controlling the audio output, and this way the modulation is going to set the highest volume. Amazing, we have a kick drum, and we can draw the curve. And I really think this is something nice. And yeah, this is one part. And the reason why I did split the sine oscillator into two parts is that I like to use a custom function in between the two, which is something like phase modulation really. So this way in the phase is straight, so if I hit a key it's the same, but we can distort it. And remember, this is not distortion for the wave itself, so this is not some wave shaping, this is phase modulation. So if you take a look at the waveform, it changes like this, it's like warping the sine wave. And you can go crazy and go nuts with this, but remember it can create aliasing. But for a few things it's nice, so let's create a shape like this and let's plug this back so we have some drive on the frequency. And but this is too much, this is like a too fat or too 90s rave sound. But okay, there's a place for these kind of things as well, and even for that, and even for this. But I like it if it decays back to normal, so I create another custom function, put this guy here, and I just simply wanna crossfade between the two, like here, like there, like there. And yeah, the way we crossfade is going to be like this, like with an envelope follower. Oop, it comes here, that goes into the X of the crossfade, and this is going to be short. And since I want to have this on the transient, so on the beginning of the sound, I'm going to put this into B and this guy into A. And if I move this above, then it's more intuitive for me. So this way it's going to be better looking. And let's make it like this. And this is going to be something like a just don't overdo it, because then it will sound like not so good. And this is the first thing I like to do, or one of the things I like to do nowadays, but there is more, because I think many people know that I'm a big fan of noises, but from noises I have the idea that we also need some transients, some more rich transients, and for that white noise is ideal. So I'm going to create another envelope follower here, put it on the trigger. No, I want to have it on the same place, I just want to move this to the left of it. And I create a gain in node and plug the white noise there. Volume down, volume modulation up, and that's going to be the way it should be. And I wanna remove the scope now, because we really don't need it anymore and it's just disturbing there. And so this is our base, or the body of the kick. And let me create a mixer in here. Oh no, not even, it's going to be a mixer stereo, because I want to make it stereo. And let's plug this guy here like this. And this was our one of our new features. I don't know if you've seen the multi-patching thing. Then while you patch, you can tell it if you want 2 or 3, and I want to have 2 patches now just by pressing 2 on the keyboard while patching, and if you connect it, you have 2 patches there, and it's stereo. Nice noise. And now we can this gaining is controlled by this envelope follower. So if I plug this into the 3 and 4 inputs, then we should hear it. But oh no, we can't hear it because nothing's connected to the final stage, and now it's okay. And that's nice, but we made it stereo, so let's copy paste this white noise. And this way we have different white noises on the left and the right side. And it's not a problem because white noise is stereo compatible, so this won't make your mix bad. It's just wider. And let's use an EQ band dual like this, and plug both bands here. Let's mute the bass. let's always reset this LFO. Okay, and the thing I'm missing is that this is only a short click, and I want to have a tail which is long, like this, and simply mix it with the original click envelope, like this. Let's align it like that. So if I raise this, it's going to be like a reverb. Okay, and one more technique from my side is when I use a short burst only on the trigger, another envelope flower, and you probably know that I like to use filters for creating sounds, so I'm just going to filter this short tick using the new state variable, and create a stereo track there and plug it into both inputs, and they can go there like that. And the cue, let me mute all the rest. Cool. And let's use this also as a cutoff modulation source using a rescaler GUI, and let's create a value of like this and just start to crank the cutoff modulation. And that's a nice transient for me. And here we have so much variation that it's so easy to get some nice sounds using these parameters we have. I like it the way it is now. And one more thing we can do is again to use something like this once again. So let me copy paste that part. Use the triggers input once again. But instead of the EQ, let's use state variable. And we want to have it stereo, so we are going to use two of it on the same cutoff and same resonance. So those can go up there. And use a stereo track to get them together. Band plus 1, band plus 2. And yeah, let's plug it to there. Like that. And let's mute the rest. And a bit of cutoff modulation we also do, like this. Or maybe the quick one. Let's listen to all the guys together. Yeah, these are fighting a bit. Let's take a look at the spectrum. And yeah, this is why I like to create a stereo track, because that's convenient to always have it before the output. Yeah, this way we are fine. So yeah, I think this is a nice sounding kick drum. And we have seen some techniques like first creating an incrementer to drive an LFO, the frequency of an LFO. And then we have seen techniques for distorting the phase of a sine wave. And yeah, this sounds good. And we have seen a technique where we create a pseudo stereo transient, and we have seen one where we have used the state variable as an oscillator, and we have seen one more where we used the state variable as for filtering noise, and this way we obtained again a pseudo stereo part, which is somehow extending the body part into something that flows and something that has that is breathing. So I really like it the way it is now, and I will use this in a song if I wouldn't feel it cheesy that I'm using something that I've built like this. It would be like cheating for me. I like to build stuff from the ground up, except my strings, because those are hard to make. And from this point on, we are really getting fine with this. So I like to set it to polyphonic and the voices to 1. This way, if it's not making any sound, it doesn't use the CPU. And from here on, you can do really anything, and you can extend it further, and yeah, we could go into compression and stuff, but that topic would be too much maybe. So I think this somewhat showed how I make my own kicks. And the last method with the state variable on the white noise, on the stereo white noise, is also usable for creating acoustic sounding kicks. And you just have to layer a few of them on top of each other, and I have to look into the camera. I always forget about it. I look at the monitor, and in half of the video I'm going to look up like this. That's not good. Anyways, the point is that that you can layer these guys on each other, but take care of conflicting frequencies, so they do not sound like modulation, because these sine waves together can sound like they are modulating each other. But anyways, I hope these techniques are helpful, and not only for forever users, I think, because this is a general thing. So if you can use your filters in any other modular system, and you can use these techniques anywhere else. You just have to have some access to triggers and gates and filters and oscillators and phase and stuff like this. Yeah. I hope you had fun watching this video, and took me no time to do it, really. It was all real time. I didn't edit it. I won't color grade it. Maybe I will clean up the microphone sound, and I will have to render it again when it's when I press the stop button. But yeah. Happy noding, guys. Bye bye.